thank you. Well, the first thing we have is a little case study we want for you to fill out. You want to pick your brains to find out, yeah, that'd be great. Actually, we keep one. Pick your brains a little bit to find out how you're already working with students, if you are, when it comes to these career conversations that come up all the time, whether it's during advising and you're helping them register for classes, or it's a senior that's getting ready to graduate. All of us have these career conversations. And so if you could, take a couple of minutes to read the prompt and then answer the 2 questions as best you can. All right, it seems most folks are done. So I'm curious, how did you answer question number 1? And for this specific prompt, how would you help Nina find an internship?
I can answer this in 2 ways. Right now, I usually start with Debbie for all things internship outside of PSJ, so I would have probably just contacted Debbie or Cindy Fair from HSS.
Great.
But I was thinking about what I would have done if I were first-year faculty and someone came to me about this, and I don't know what I would do. I'm not, even having been on campus for a while, I don't use your site. I don't even know what it is really that you guys do, if I'm being honest. And so, like, as a first-year faculty, I don't know what I would do.
Great, thank you. Yes, Michelle.
I had a couple things. First, I'd have her polish her resume and then upload it on the Elon Job Network. I'd have her network on the Elon Mentor Network and maybe see if there's anything out there in the Baltimore area. And then the last thing I would do is just have her make a list of family friends that she can reach out to.
Great. Any other volunteers? Okay, and in that we heard a couple of resources. So Debbie as a human resource, and also of course the SPDC, and then the Elon Job Network, which we're going to go through in a second, and then there was another resource that I heard, the Elon Mentor Network, which has changed, but we'll talk about that as well. So that's why we're really excited to be here with you all today, because we're excited to show you this product. And the goal of this presentation isn't just to show you this product, but it's to show you how we interact with students. So you'll see our process for working with students, and then how we use EJN to do that. Because one of our biggest challenges is helping students realize how fantastically they've been educated and trained by all of you, and translating those skills into kind of employer speak. So helping them, yes?
I was just going to say one more thing in terms of a response to this particular prompt. One of the things that would be important to know, I think, is her curriculum, because PHS has a required practical. And so when I read this, I'm thinking, okay, is this something that the student is doing for her requirements for PHS? That very much needs to be directed to Stephanie or Cindy Fair or somebody in PHS. Or is this just an extra internship that she is doing out of just general, how I want to spend my summer kinds of things? And so I think this is a great example from the standpoint of how, unless you know the academic discipline that the student is studying and requirements of that, how students can sometimes come at things sort of with misperceptions based on how internships are done when they are electives as compared to when they are requirements. Okay?
Great,
So
thank you.
This is an interesting one from that standpoint.
Great, good. So yeah, as I said, we'll talk about our process with students as well as the products that we use, and talk about how we start translating someone's major into industries and ideas for careers. Because as we all know, life isn't sorted into majors after graduation. It's sorted into industries and careers and interests and values, and so we'll incorporate that into what we talk about as well. So what I'm going to do is serve as the computer dude, and we'll go ahead and start with the presentation.
So as Ross said, a lot of what we're doing in our office and what I do day to day as a career advisor is help students translate what they're learning in the classroom into how does that translate to industries and possible career options. So especially with Nina, who's not really sure what her specific interests are within her particular majors, I would start trying to ask her a lot of questions to get a sense of what she's looking for. So what is it that you like about your major or majors, depending on which one she wants to maybe focus on, or maybe she wants to combine both into one internship. What kinds of activities does she like to do? What is she seeking to learn from this internship or gain? So as a sophomore, she's still got 2 years of classes ahead of her as well. What are some of the skills that she would like to further develop? What sparked her interest so far? And what kinds of skills and expertise does she already have to contribute? So something I see a lot of students, oh, I'm just a sophomore, I can't do an internship. You've already got a great academic background, you've got skill sets that you're bringing to the table. What are those and how can those fit into a potential option? So after asking some of those questions and kind of gathering that information, I would then want to make sure, among other resources, but that she knows how to utilize the Elon Job Network effectively. So something we might start with is, asking her, have you looked for posted opportunities on the Elon Job Network? And a lot of times I get, what is the Elon Job Network? So we'd go ahead and if you want to start, Debbie, with the job and internship search tab.
One of the first things a student would do, we would direct the student to the job and internship search tab. You go to that tab. And to get the best results, we would tell the student to go to the advanced search, where you can filter and put some criteria in. The student may want to start with the academic department. We're going to look several different ways and go to the academic department and go down toward the public health. And you can multi-select as well. And if you see another department, we could put that in there. If not, we're going to close.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I was lost in the list.
That's okay. But one thing we do need to know, go to the position type. We know that the student is only looking for an internship or co-op. And close. And we know that she needs to be in either, she told us she wanted to be in Maryland. We're just going to broadly search in the state because we don't know what she can really drive to. So she said just search in Maryland and search in DC and multi-select and close. And then we're going to hit the search field and see if anything pops up at the moment. Now right at the moment there's only one internship that an employer has posted that might fit the student with the major. So the student will click on the link and of course there'll be instructions on how the student could apply, if the student fits, and all the particulars about the internship. And so this is how employers are posting on their side of the network, and this is where we get this information. Okay. And then, now granted, that did not give a lot of results. So what we're going to do, we're not going to give up. We go back to the advanced search, and we're going to take a look at this again, not through the academic department, but by industry.
So that, I'm curious on that one that you showed us that came up with those particular majors.
Mm-hmm.
So when the person at AID got in there and was completing it, because they're completing it on their end as an employer, do they have guidance on choosing disciplines, or do you think they just kind of go down the list and say, oh, this might be good, this might be good?
Exactly. Some of them check anything.
Right.
And the person who is making this job go live actually has to look and determine, would this fit in different particular departments? And so we've added that particular Elon academic department. But the industry may be a better fit. So the student has a lot of choices. So we'll just go to the industry and click on the health field, healthcare, and also possibly could be government, public administration, or nonprofits, because she did mention those items. And when I'm sitting with a student, we'll just talk about, oh, you know what, it could be buried within nonprofits. And also, just pick the nonprofit, philanthropy, and close, and then we'll hit the search button again. And if you notice, other opportunities pop up. And so these will give you the same types of information, how the student can apply to the internship, what the criteria is. Maybe they need to be a junior, maybe a sophomore, maybe a particular GPA. And Sometimes there is actually a web link. As you know, a lot of these companies now, the larger ones, you have to apply through their website. So it will give all that information once you click the link. And so this is how we would basically use the job and internship search. Any questions with that?
And just to add to that, Debbie, one thing that might be beneficial to your students and
Oh, yeah.
to you is that you can save the search and then have EJN email you when any new internships come in. So this is a very specific search, and it is kind of cumbersome sometimes to log into this, but if you set up this safe search, then as soon as new things come in, you'll be emailed immediately saying, hey, some new internships showed up, check them out.
So if a faculty member logs in as a faculty member, we could do the same. We could set up a search, say anytime there is an internship posted in my discipline, I would get.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe one question, and I know how this has grown over time. I mean, I've had folks from the SPDC come into my senior seminar and talk to students, and their common gripe is, this works great for business students or communication students, but we get nothing, right? And obviously it's not nothing, but one of the things that stands out to me when I look at it, where we have a lot of students who do internships during the summer, would be if it's in their home area, it's with city government, it's with state government, it's with the local hospital, not necessarily national consortiums or bigger places. Is there any plans to is there a way to to broaden that a little bit? Or
We do have that, and we'll get to that
Okay,
next.
all right, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
No, great
No,
question.
it's good. I'm glad you're asking it.
So in this system, in one way or another, we're going to walk through all the different tabs, but you're able to see any student who registered that internship for academic credit. That will be logged in the system. So if they did it not for credit, that's something that's much harder for us to track, but if they did it for credit, it'll appear in the employer directory, which we'll get to. So one thing, in addition to trying different searches, so when I'm working with a student, I always encourage them, don't just search by academic department, don't just search by keyword, try different searches. So you'll see that you'll find information popping up in different ways. But I would also try to get a sense, so from those questions, I would ask Nina about what kind of industry, is she interested in healthcare? Is she interested in nonprofit? Is she interested in government? And then taking a look at the search through the employer directory, what kinds of employers do we have in those different areas?
This is my favorite tab. If you click on the employer directory in the advanced search, notice we have previous Elon internship site, and this is where students, when they register their internships for credit, if they select yes, everything we're going to put in here means that organization has actually had an Elon intern. This is a hot list. That gives the student hope, well, if they had an Elon intern, maybe they would take me. So we're going to set yes, and we're going to click on the industries we're interested in, and you can multi-select the industries, government, or we're going to do a broad search again, because public health could be hidden in several different ways too, nonprofit, and close out, put the 2 states. We're going to put DC, the District of Columbia, just because she said it was close enough for her, and Maryland, and we're going to search. And every organization that pops up has had an Elon intern before. And when you click on the link, it will give you some information about the organization. It does not tell you who the student was. We protect the student's name. We don't give the student the contact because, quite frankly, the contact could have left that very day. But it's given you the website where they can go to the website and make connections with that organization. So this is my favorite feature. And this is where every time one of your students registers that internship for credit, and I set up the process with that, that's where they end up. And students are generally very impressed with all the organizations that are already in there.
Is there a way that they can find out a recent Elon student?
Well, what I do is, if it's a really difficult place that I think is hard to get into and there's nothing on the website, I can find out who the student is. If the student is still at Elon, I can reach out to her, see if she's willing to chat, and I have made those connections with the student. but I want the permission of the student, if it's okay to do that before I do it. But this is really great because Children's Defense Fund, if you'll click on that, Ross, it's right there.
And
They also post a lot of internships. It's just that internships are posted all the time, and there aren't that many right now for students to look at, but there will be more in the spring. But the student could go straight to the website and open it up and just look at the opportunities. And there are internships at CDF, and they can go and look at them and apply.
And just to add to what you asked, Woody, we also use LinkedIn a lot as well. So we'll show you how we use LinkedIn in conjunction with EJN later, if LinkedIn's working. It was not this morning. Murphy's Law. You ready? All right.
Put me in the rain.
All
So
right.
there are, if you scroll down, let's take a look and see how many we can find out. Let's see.
I think at the top it's.
Yeah, there's
Could be
94.
at the top.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
that's fast.
that's good. That's a good amount. Now, granted, this is not all the internships students have ever done, but we've only had this system since about 2008, and we only went live with internships being approved online this way, and so I think it's really becoming a very robust directory right now for our students.
I was just gonna say to piggyback off of what Sarah said and reiterate that these are just, that selection is just for students who have done an internship for credit. But there's a ton more that have done internships, but it just isn't for credit, so it's not solely insular, so it's just something to remember when you're looking at the employers.
And also in the advanced search, you could also set it to no. That means they haven't had an Elon intern, but the organizations that are in there wanted students to view their profile. That
Well,
means they
have
wanted,
that Elon intern, but
right.
it's not registered for,
Right.
it wasn't academic credit.
Or when they first registered in the database, they wanted students to know they exist. And so students can still choose no and or both, and see every organization that's in the database that fits that particular industry.
With more with yes than no, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just add, this has been, y'all have worked really hard on this. This has been a boon to our programs because all of our Study USA students do their internships for credit. And just for them to be able to go and look at a list of where students have been in the past is wonderful because we have a ton of repeat internships. Y'all prepare the students really well, they do a great job, the employers love them, and it's always very heartening to see this, so. Thank you for creating it, because I know how hard it is. Yeah.
When you search by city, how far does it generalize? If you put in Raleigh, does it give you Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, or does it just do Raleigh? So
Just
you
Raleigh.
just literally do, if it's in Apex, you would need to type in Apex.
Yeah, it's not like Indeed.com, which you could set a radius 25 or 50 miles. It's whatever the student typed in, where that city, because when you approve the record, you're seeing Raleigh or, Greensboro, and it doesn't know to pull anything else in. Whereas Indeed is aggregated and it's going to pull in, it's a different database.
And that's why sometimes if students are unsure, we'll encourage them to think more broadly and then narrow it down. So like if you're open to Raleigh, Durham, Apex, put North Carolina and then narrow it from there. Because at least that way you're not missing something that could be important.
And students know where they can drive, how far, and I have no idea. I've only been to Maryland a few times, and so I don't know how far Baltimore is from DC really, and a lot of those students drive that all the time, so they don't think anything about it. But they could put in a city if they wanted to.
So, sorry, were you done?
No, finish with that.
Yeah, we got 10 minutes.
Yep.
Oh, okay, so we need to move along. So another resource we would point students to, because I know a lot of times students might get discouraged initially in that job and internship search, there's nothing posted. So trying to build up that list of organization names, more places you can look. And if they check out the resource library, there's a lot more information that they can find in there as well.
Now, I really like the resource library because many corporations, as you know, are not going to take time to post 500 jobs in the Elon Job Network, but they give you a link to their organizations and their career site. So if you'll go down to the public health directory and Yep, and click on the public health care. Look at all the links that will take you to all these opportunities, just numerous ones. And if you keep scrolling down, you'll see there are healthcare organizations, let's say in Maryland. Click on healthcare orgs. And you could click on one of these, and this is all within one database, and it will take you to the link of that particular association or organization. And students, again, will see the website. A lot of students go, oh, this is great. You know, that would be the one, not the link that's you weren't supposed to click that one. And I can't fix that link because it comes within this Maryland Health
Organization. You can always copy and
organization.
paste it,
Yeah.
pop it in, and then there you go.
But anyway, but students can look at that, and they might say, well, you know what, I've got a relative who has Alzheimer's, and it's really close to my heart, and I really do want to get, and once they see a list, they're thinking a little bit stronger, because if you actually asked me, what are all the organizations in the neighborhood, I'd probably go, just a few things. But when you look at a laundry list, you're going, oh yes, that resonates with me. And so it's really a great way just for them to start looking at and thinking about places where they can use their major or their career interest. And so and there could be some crossovers with other majors, such in government or biology. So there are just numerous other databases within these folders for students to look at.
Something else that we would encourage students to do is to, of course, take advantage of the opportunities that our office is bringing to them. So I'm going to throw it over to Aisha to tell us a little bit more about, like, through her role, the kinds of opportunities that are being created and how you can find them in the system.
Yeah, so if you want to go over to the career events tab, Ross, I just you may or may not be familiar with all of the events that are annually happening. So besides our largest event, our Job and Internship Expo, which is held in the fall and the spring, we also have our Graduate and Professional School Fair in the fall, our Year of Service Expo in the fall, and our Teacher Fair in the spring. And those are all career events that are guaranteed to happen every year or twice a year. And then beyond that, we have pretty much any and every type of event that would be considered a professional development. So if we have an employer on campus who's doing a lunch and learn, like today, the Lutheran Volunteer Corps is doing a lunch and learn. We have employers that'll come in, provide lunch for students, and they can learn about opportunities. We have info sessions in the evening as well. We'll have it in the Ellenberg room or in another room in the Student Professional Development Center or in Mosley. And here's another one, Year of Service Alumni Panel. So we actually are having Elon alums who have done a 1 to 2 year service experience after graduation to come and talk about that experience firsthand. And so anything from a alumni panel to an info session. We also have we have opportunities for employers to engage virtually at Elon, and we'll set them up on Skype. Students can find in the career events tab, and so we have IDs, so if they know, okay, I know exactly what the job ID is, or the career event ID, they can search by that. There's the Lutheran Volunteer Corps I was talking about, but they can also just look at it generally without searching and see everything that comes up. And so there's constantly things happening, info sessions, panels, that are talking about different opportunities for students. And I don't know if we want to talk about interviews as well, but we do have employers that are constantly coming on campus for on-campus interviews. Also wanted to mention office hours too. City Year, Peace Corps, Teach for America, they actually contact us in the fall and schedule office hours throughout the year. So we know, in September when they're going to be on campus, and those are in there as well. And then we have different types of organizations coming on campus to hold on-campus interviews. Typically a student would, so if somebody wanted to sign up for the CHG Healthcare Service Representative, you would submit your resume in order to be selected or in order to be eligible for the interview. So employers on their side can see all of the resumes, and then from there, the employer will choose out of those resumes who they want to interview. And so this is happening all the time. Reliance Learning is on campus right now. We constantly have employers on campus doing interviews, and if students ever want to see who's interviewing, they can just go to the interview tab, or if they want to search specifically, they can go to a specific employer or the specific ID if they know it.
Aisha,
Yes.
if we'd like to nab our students and provide this information with them, do you have an email? So I know on the calendar on the website, I've seen the postings of who's coming, but are we able to get emails from you telling us who's coming, when?
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly,
But that responsibility falling on you, like, is there?
well, I mean, I was just gonna, so Sarah actually sends out a monthly email to all of the departments in the College of Arts and Sciences with everything that's going on, but we know that you guys are really busy, so we don't wanna bombard you. But if you would like further communication specifically, I am certainly happy to do that. On top of that, a little bit more often about exactly what's going on. But yeah, everything is on our calendar, on the College of Arts and Sciences calendar, on eNet, on the Student Professional Development Center, yeah. But I can certainly do that, and we can talk if you, I'm definitely happy to communicate in any way that you think is best in order to get it out to the students.
I think the monthly emails from Sarah are perfect for us.
And
I have to
that's
say, I've never noticed that, which means I'm too quick to delete, so I'm glad I know they're.
But they don't go to everybody.
They
in the
don't.
department.
Right, so you
So I
want,
usually send it to a point person in the department.
That would be why I haven't seen it. Okay, got it.
So I can add you, and or we're always trying to figure out how to get it to more faculty without it being overwhelming.
right,
But I'm happy to add you on. You said you're in math.
Yeah, I'll chat with you.
Okay,
yeah,
Thank you.
sounds good.
we
Sure.
definitely know it's not.
So I have a question, if it's not about that specifically, but I was trying to log on to set up the thing so that I could get the notifications that you were talking about. And it stuck me at my profile, it's making me create a,
Oh,
Is
You
that-
haven't updated.
Yeah.
I have to do a profile?
well, no, you have to complete the,
So-
well, you have
there
to
is
put in
a-
your telephone number, your office number. We've minimized what you have to do as a faculty person.
Okay,
And then you just, when you do that, you'll come to another page and you just submit it. And then you'll be able to see everything up here.
and then I can create, like I
Right,
want
we-
stuff for poverty and social
Yeah.
justice and for history, I can set that up.
Yeah.
You can just do the required fields, like you don't have to do a full profile, but whatever, does it have starred required fields?
See, you just have one that you have to put in maybe your office telephone number, I believe to the right, where it says phone number and an asterisk. We didn't want you to have to go through what students go through.
Right.
And then you can read some text and then you can submit it. And then it will also ask you if you want to connect with internships.com or indeed.com. And you might just want to say no for that because you don't want to get too cluttered up with things. And then submit it. And I'll come take a look too.
No
And,
worries, I can
Yeah,
come to you
we
guys.
got 1 minute left, so I
Yeah.
just want to make sure that we address
You do that through
everything.
the job internship search tab? Is that where you go?
To
To
sign
set up the
for
search
emails?
agent? Yes.
Do you want to show again?
Yeah, if you
Ross,
show
really
it one more
quickly, yeah.
time.
And just to clarify, everyone's got an account in there, you just have to activate it. And by activate it, it means put in your phone number, name, and then you're good to go. So you will have to take that time at the onset to do that. So,
Right here
yeah,
at
if I
the
do an
top.
advanced search, and I'll just click on a bunch of stuff. It's gonna-
And that's our
Animal care.
office phone number there.
Yeah,
is
that
on.
works.
Yeah,
And
the
then
office.
just email me any files based on the search. And so I could call this, Luncheon Learn Job Search, save, and then anytime something comes in that matches that criteria, it's gonna email me immediately and say, hey, you should check this out. So it makes it very easy for everyone, I think, and students love that too.
So when students use it, do you have any record of what are their diagnostics or whatever that say how many people are clicking on this, or you have a sense of where the traffic is?
Yeah, we can see that and then see how many people apply to a certain position and see their resumes and see who's been accepted to go to the next round, all that information.
Faculty have only had access to this for a couple of years, so I think in general, most faculty probably don't even know they have access, or if they know it, they've never bothered to access it. I'm assuming this is much more embedded into the student culture.
We're working on it.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Well, Sarah's actually created a really nice pamphlet that's gonna step you through everything that we've talked about today, including how to save a search. So we've got those for you, our wonderful paid student helped with that. And we're out of time. If anyone would like to meet with me or Debbie one-on-one to talk about this more, or to maybe help set up your EJN account, or get some LinkedIn tutorial, or maybe I could do another Lunch and Learn later on, I'm happy to do that.
Do you all still come to classes?
Oh, yeah.
So much, consider yourself finished as far as being out of time. You can contribute to this conversation.
Okay, great.
Can I, let's just have a second question. What does job agent mean? I'm not clear on what that means when you're saving.
Oh, job agent name, it just means name of your search. So, say that if I am a art history major and I'm looking for museum internships, and I search New York City, museum internships, and it creates the results, I can save that search as museum summer internships.
I see, so it's a search for that specific criteria.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's basically the results that meet that criteria.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure, thank you.
I had one thinking question too.
No, that's fine.
Where did you find the previous Elon internship site? It was
I'll show you that
under
again.
Elon or employer directory, but
Employer
then
directory.
mine's not showing it.
Advanced search.
Oh,
Did you
okay.
click the advanced?
Yeah, I did that.
Then it should come up. That's weird.
Then previous,
See, I don't have that
What do you
box there. Mine stops at industry and then it's missing that previous Elon internship site.
well, that's good for us to know. We
need
can
to look
definitely
into
check
that,
on
yeah.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, mine doesn't have that either.
None of them have it? Okay. I wonder if it's the level of access.
I know, April, I'll pick up on that. Well,
Yeah.
we'll spend a few minutes hearing from each of the faculty members about their experience with this. I know for me, in working with faculty, typically faculty will say, I think my students just find their own internships. Some departments very much want to have a hand in that in terms of vetting internships. So the purpose of this next section of the lunch session is really just to kind of hear from faculty about what's working, what kind of help you need, what kind of support you need, and just what you've learned along the way that you would advise other faculty about. Sean, you want to get us started with that?
No pressure. Well, for me, I mean, when I came to Elon, I benefited, I wanted to be involved with mentoring student internships, and I benefited that we had Chalmers Brumbaugh and Betty Morgan who had done an awful lot of that. So it was really easy as a new faculty member, for me to talk to them and see what worked and best practices in the department, and then go meet Pam Brumbaugh and, start to get to introduce to people. So there was a pretty easy, I guess, kind of framework to operate in if you wanted to be involved in this in the department. And so that was my first, much of what I had done had very little to do with career services or student professional development. It was all about a focus within the department or international studies, and largely drawing on either personal connections, department connections, as time built up where students had done internships that we kind of had a little informal list of or things like that. And then in our department, we partnered pretty well with the Washington Center for a long time. So that was something that our students were always aware of, and that would come to us with questions about. So it made it a pretty easy transition to start. And over the years, I'd say not much has really changed, except I've had folks from the SPDC come into my classes about, to talk to students about some opportunities, or to show them a version of this presentation in senior sem after students complained that, it was useless for arts and sciences. There was nothing in political science. And, there was, right? So in that, I guess I'd just say I came in with personal enthusiasm, gradually drew on people in the department and figured out how things worked at Elon. And I guess now, I've been here 7 years, that it's now at the point where, as long as it's in DC or Boston or in North Carolina or places that I'm familiar with, I have a pretty good list of places I can send students, and other than that, I draw on the department, the Washington Center and the SPDC.
So this has really kind of evolved, starting, it was much more embedded in the department, and now it's more of a both and kind of approach of keeping your own resources, sort of keeping, you said sort of an informal list of resources in your.
Yeah, and I would even say, but it's just more, you know, if someone's from Connecticut, it can be, who did an internship in Senator so-and-so's office, or did you remember that, you know, Andrew Glass did this, or a couple of years ago, and point someone, you know, who remembers him, does anyone have contact with him, or da-da-da-da-da, but this level of resources, especially where you can see where all this, that was the first time I'd seen this, to me seems like it would make that a lot more, I don't know, easy to use, instead of trying to go off your own memory, or who you still have email addresses for, or Facebook contacts with. For students, that you'd be able to just start here is a good place, and might make life a lot easier.
I think in the departments, with the history that you described, you do have sort of an institutional memory about the really good opportunities out there. And that can be a very useful thing over time to build that kind of core of experiences that you want to keep using if you can, because you know students will have a good experience there.
Yeah, and I guess the only other thing I'd add, and this is somewhat political science related, but I worked in government for a while, and I've always just pushed students to go figure out who your state rep is, figure out who your state senator is, figure out who your mayor is, figure out, and then starting there, that often that's a lot easier than getting if you don't have family connections, or you don't have an in through your department or a professor or Elon, that often in those places, just by starting closer to home, you can easily find an internship that will open up more things for the next summer, and that it often kind of just develops out.
Well, I mean, I think your program's sort of historically on the other end of this. Sean's department was doing internships way before they were cool. And you're building a program. Can you tell us about your experience?
Can I speak very quickly about history though?
Oh, sure.
So in our department, so in history, we typically have not looked at internships, and that's something that we've been talking a lot more about. How do we tell students, or how do we demonstrate to students who are coming out of history that they have skills that are actually useful beyond doing what I do, which they all think is really boring, right? Or going into museums. And so we've been spending a lot of time thinking about how we can get our history majors and minors into internships, and so that's why I'm interested to set up this list. Flipping over to Department of Social Justice though, we have a required internship, and that works in 3 different ways. One, the students can go through this process and identify an internship that they want to do. Our requirement is that they have to have 40 hours of direct service in a low-income community or with a low-income population. And then we have 5 learning goals, and they have to write reflective prompts addressing how they are achieving those learning goals. So that's one way. It's an internship that I would direct, and the students come to it, having identified the internship that they want to do. Then we're also part of the Shepherd Higher Education Consortium on Poverty, which is a consortium of about 25 colleges and universities in the United States. And we send 5 students from Elon to the SHEP internship program, where they're working for 8 weeks in a low-income community with students from other institutions. And so that's really nice, because last year we had 5 students from all over the United States here in Greensboro. And we had 1 Elon student that was in Greensboro. So they all live together, they go off and do these internships that SHEP has identified, and then they come home that night and they talk about what they've done in all of these different internships and using all these different disciplines and techniques. So that's the second way. And then we have approved internships through different majors. So Health and Human Services, which has a practicum, education, all those other ones that have a required internship. We can tell the we'll tell the students that if they want to do the internship for their major or minor, to count towards poverty and social justice, they just have to make sure that they're meeting our criteria, or demonstrating that they're meeting our criteria, and are in 40 hours of direct service. So those are the 3 different ones.
So at one point, I guess there's that category of students that you said, students come to you having found their internships. They have do you have a sense of how they go about finding those internships? Is it
I just
through
called Deb.
what we just?
No, Deb, I didn't even do that. I skipped all of that, and this is like,
So then Debbie goes in and. Okay.
Yeah, usually that's how it is. Or they've done something or heard about something, or it's like in their hometown and they want
Informal
to,
networks that they have and the like.
Most of my students that end up doing probably PSJ 481, which is the independent internship with me, come already knowing what they want to do. Usually it's because they've already talked to Debbie, or they know what they want to do. They're not using this for the most part.
So would groups, like you mentioned one, was it SHIP or something?
SHIP.
Would something like SHIP or the Washington Center be in the EJN?
The Washington Center's definitely.
So some of these that are kind of internship consolidators or something.
Oh, yeah, we've
Well,
got,
anytime a student registers for credit, it's gonna be in here.
and we've got a ton of, the Washington Center, we've got the Washington Internship Institute, the Fund for American Studies, a lot of different organizations that do that type of, you go through that organization and they place you. Some of you have been gracious enough to have them come to class, thank you. But we've got, I mean, it's, yeah, they're in there. I don't know specifically about the SHEP one, but those types of ones are in there.
But one thing that I didn't show you, in the resource library, there are other databases. For example, we have databases that every year, this particular vendor, it's called Internships USA, they check out and make sure that the organizations still want to be in the book. And there are internships for history majors in all states, or internships in international affairs, things that pertain to sport and event management, environmental, communications, top 50 companies. And every year, this particular vendor, who we purchased it from and we placed everything in the Elon Job Network, calls and makes sure, do you still want us to advertise your internships? And they go, yes. And I show students all of these resources. And so I really do like to meet individually with your students, because once I show them the resources, I don't think they think it's too little. It might be a little overwhelming, but I also give them a sheet on how to locate and to capture what we just went through. And so that's how we gather. When we find the information, we'll also put information in EJN as well.
And if I'm understanding you correctly, that's the level of information that Amy would not receive an email about. It's more, you have to drill down more for that.
I'm really, looking at the student's interest and finding those places that would fit with that student's interest, and talk to them and find it and locate it. Showing them how to locate it, because we all know EJN isn't everything. And faculty, you all have ideas, and students have met with you all, and so we just take a look at everything. And so I like to meet with each student individually.
So Michelle, tell us what's going on with your students.
Luckily for us, employers come looking for our students in computer science, so it's not a matter of not having enough jobs out there for them, opportunities, so. What was I gonna say? A lot of our students actually will do summer internships without credit as well, so a lot of those placements probably don't get populated in the Elon Job Network, but we get the hot sheet from Sarah once a month, but then when employers are on campus, Aisha or Sarah or whoever sends us notifications that there's so-and-so on campus next week. So our students get notified either through Joel, Dave, or I, or all three of us on all the opportunities. So another thing that, our students need to have an internship to get jobs after college, and they know that. So they get hit pretty hard their sophomore and junior year. So we have, Dave Powell usually hits two of his classes to try to make sure that all students have a touch through the SPDC, and you guys come to his classes to make sure that they are all aware of all of the opportunities on campus for them. So it's
And that's just institutionalized in your department. Essentially, the students are going to have at least a couple of classes that they get something similar to what we've seen here.
I think this year, so Sarah will typically do something a little bit more presentation focused and student focused, since she is a career advisor and is working with the students. And I've gone in and right before the expo, Dave asked me to come in and I talked about all of the employers that are looking for computer science students that are coming to the expo, in addition to any employers that we work with, that we have relationships with, that are looking for computer science students, and if their internships are full-time opportunities. So that was at Dave's request.
Good or bad, there's some companies that already have been in and out, cherry picking students, so they come in early to try to get the top students, so, yeah. I also teach the COE, the transition strategy course for our majors, so that kind of is helpful for those students, because they have to put it together, a resume, cover letter, learn interview skills, so it's things that the students have to be doing anyway, so it's that 1 hour class, so we try to encourage students to take that as well, and that's been helpful.
So with employers kind of beating on the door of Elon, do your students for the most part get internships through that, or do you also have students doing
Both.
using their informal
Yeah.
connections and going to their hometowns and
Yeah.
so you have both of those?
So typically, the informal connections are if the student wants to have an internship in Boston. So a lot of the companies up there might not be knocking on the door here.
Right.
It's the local companies that we see more of.
You can tell us about your experience.
Okay. So in our departments, we have lots of different languages, and so typically there's maybe a point person in each language section that's, I guess, I don't know, by default becomes kind of the point person. And for Spanish, it often ends up being the minors, not necessarily our majors. Our majors are required to do a semester-long study abroad, and so they've gotten a lot of experience through that particular program. And our minors are the ones looking for some kind of hands-on experiential learning type of experience. And so the majority of the internships I have are with the minors. And the way that we've done it is I'll meet with them, find out what their interests are, what kind of skills they have, and based on that, just through prior experience, I know who we worked with and who's been good and who hasn't worked out well, and then I point them in that direction. And just recently I've found out about the great search engine that we have, and so we look at that too as well. But I mean, we may have one internship a semester, and so because I have some ongoing relationships with different organizations in the community, I keep using that same person so that we kind of have that ongoing relationship, but it's not formal at all. And I'm definitely interested in knowing how other departments coordinate that effort, because I didn't know that there was a monthly email that comes out, and so how do you get that type of information? I think it would be helpful to know, and knowing what those coordinators are, what their roles are in different departments, because I don't know how I ended up being the internship, like.
You didn't show up to the meeting.
It's just like, oh, April does internships, and so I don't know why. I guess I said yes one time, and then I became the expert. Not an expert, but so yeah. And then I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned just the hard way is how important it is for me to really explain the requirements to the coordinator of the internship, because the times that we've had the major mishaps have been when I wasn't upfront about what the student needed to be doing, and there was some miscommunication, and the student ended up doing like paperwork and never got to do any like actual Spanish speaking or interactions with the community. And so I've learned through the years that it's important to meet with the student and also maintain contact with the supervisor of the internship, just so that we're all on the same page. And sometimes we have also ones that are, we've done like local and then international ones as well, where I'll be working with an organization that the student has found that they've had contact with through their church or some kind of service organization, and they find this internship abroad and then they want to get credit for it, and so I'll supervise that, but it's something that they have found on their own. So we do kind of a mix, I guess. There's no real system to it exactly, but
I think everybody's got some hybrid version
Yeah.
going on. The international example that you just gave, I'm assuming this is just some sort of independent thing they're doing, not part of a study abroad
Right.
program, because those are done differently too.
yeah. So a lot of times, like I said, a lot of times a church might have a partnership abroad, and so the student will go for the summer and then do work with that organization. At one point, I had a student who did kind of a hybrid. They interned with the Spanish immersion program at Elon Elementary and an English immersion program in Guatemala, and then they did and so they did like 2 weeks at both locations, and that was a really interesting one that was, that worked out well.
Were they getting credit, April, when you did that?
Spanish credit, yeah.
You have a kind of standard syllabus for your internship that
Right. Yeah, I don't know where it
Mhm.
It's just it got passed down to me. Somebody probably made it, and I haven't given them credit, but I would if I knew who that person was. But it's a pretty extensive portfolio that they're required to do. I think it's a 40 hours equates to 1 credit in Spanish. And then part of it is a journal where they're doing observations and reflections and descriptions, self-development type of things. And then the other part of the portfolio is more of the learning goals, interviews, and they have to do skill development type pieces to the puzzle, and an annotated bibliography that's based on how much credit they're receiving for the internship. And so that's pretty standard for all the internships, and we just adapt it based on the goals of the student.
That's a whole different lunch on a sunny day.
Yeah.
It's not really. We do some syllabus sharing among the departments, because I did get responses from people, particularly saying in response to this lunch, that they would be interested in that kind of, once you get them in the seat, then what do you do with them kind of thing. And that's a very good question. We've got 5 or 10 minutes just for general discussion, Q&A for anybody and everybody in the room. So where are we with this, and what questions do you have?
Go ahead. When somebody is doing something out of the country for credit, we like to know about that. And we have something that we ask them to do, and part of it is we look at it from a risk management standpoint, because there's some places that we don't encourage students to go. And no, that's all right. And if they're, depending on what the circumstance is, we would consider it a global engagement, and that would be something that could appear on their Elon Experiences transcript.
When you say let you know, do they need to get approval, or am I literally just saying, we are doing this internship here, and I wanted to let you know?
We have a form to fill out.
You do have a form.
And then we do, because then we probably will talk to them about insurance.
Okay,
And if it's a place that has a State Department travel warning.
right, yeah.
So if they're doing it even for 1 semester hour of internship credit, it becomes by default kind of an Elon program,
Experience.
liability-wise.
Yeah, it does.
That's good.
And when the student registers for internship credit, and they're registering with you through Spanish, and they're going online through the Elon Job Network, it will say if you completed an IEPA form through the global, and that's the form that they have to fill out.
Oh, so they
And
have
until
to-
they say yes on the form,
Okay, good.
and I look at it, and if they go no, I'm picking up the phone, I'm calling and say, you can't do this, and I can't set this up until you've done what you need to do with the Global
Okay.
Education Center.
So it's embedded in the process.
I just
without-
didn't know
Yeah.
about it, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I thought I was breaking.
So I'm trying to catch everything, but I noticed a while back that I needed to have something in there that would try to catch students. So it's in the text that they read, and then it's also in the form itself.
Okay,
And they have to check yes or no.
good, okay.
And I also get a note, try to let Rhonda know too, that be on the alert for this person to make sure it was done before that person leaves. So I'm working with Rhonda pretty well with that.
I think you want to say something.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, you know, as you guys are, and so if you decide Elon Job Network is something that you're interested in looking at to see what opportunities are there, what employers are there, you know, I just wanted to remind you, if you do have a student who's found an opportunity through the, through EJN, and you're, you know, maybe they haven't done, there hasn't been an internship through that organization before, or you're trying to figure out, okay, what does that look like, and could that align with where our goals are in the discipline, that you can always reach out about that, to see what that relationship looks like, because that's what we do. So the corporate and employer relations team, which is what I'm on, manages those relationships, and so I've gone and met with people in recruiting positions at these companies. I've, you know, done tour, I've seen in person the types of organizations, learned a lot, and so there may be some context with relationships that you may or may not get just from looking at the job network, and so just wanted to say that that's also an option if you're interested or want a little bit more context, if there are relationships that we manage, that's not an issue, that you can reach out about it.
Is there a way through EJN to track or see what a given student has done?
As far as what?
Well, so we have students that, for example, who were engaged in one of our programs, let's say Elon in New York, and we have goals for them to do certain things towards getting an internship at certain dates. So, what I'm more familiar with is in our study abroad program, we can track them. We know, we have their fingerprints. We know when they've submitted this, when they've done that, when they've done this, when they've done this. It's kind of time stamped. Is there anything in EJN that would be like that, say on April 12th, somebody was in there and clicked on this site or something like that?
If we know the name of the student,
Yeah,
I
we
can
can
look it
track
up.
all of
Yeah.
that.
So we can, you
I
can,
could look it up.
okay.
Yep. From the
But I'm not
admin side
sure
of the
exactly
students.
if it would tell what they really looked at, whether they went to the employer directory or the jobs, or, but you can see that they had activity.
They were in the system.
Mhm.
And if they came into our office for appointments too, it'll track that, so like if they had their resume reviewed and all that, you can see the history of all the times they were in and what it was for,
Oh, got
as
you.
far as
Yeah.
that goes.
And just one thing to add, a week or two ago, I sent a fax staff email for the career conversations that all of y'all have with students, and there was a very big file in there that showed you how to use LinkedIn to find students that are now alums that majored in your department and see what they're doing now. So that's a big file, but it steps you through some of the LinkedIn stuff that we didn't talk about today. And also there's this activity which shows the skills that employers seek most in new hires. And then I took that data and I coupled it with the identity information that the College of Arts and Sciences did through Gaby, and there's a direct correlation between all of those. And so that's one way that you can show students you are getting all these things through your program here. And then you can send them to us and we can help them translate that and tell that as far as, you know, interviews, cover letters, resumes, etc. But thanks for making us look so good. Because your students are really outstanding. We hear that all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And they come to us and it's just us saying, yeah, you do have everything. And let's find those stories and tell them. So thanks to all of you.
And there is a lot out there. I mean, there's a ton. So if someone says they can't find them, send them to me, because there's plenty.
I think one of the tensions, or one of the, I don't call it a tension, I guess, is we have two different kinds of internship experiences going on. We have the departments that students may do an internship, but it's okay if you don't.
Right.
And I think there are a lot of internships out there, there's a lot to choose from. I think that where I hear the most concern from faculty is in the programs that have required internships. And so that faculty is really having to generate these, I mean, we've got to make this happen. And finding those internship opportunities that closely align with my program that my program needs to vet because there are, significant amounts of credit hours being earned and so forth. And so I think this works very, very well. Well, it works well for everybody, but I think that there are some programs that really feel a lot of urgency about working more closely with you all to cultivate more targeted kinds of internships. Is that something that you all are hearing as well? Or is that something that just I am hearing? Or is that,
Well, I haven't heard it, but
okay,
Yes, I haven't.
you,
okay.
yeah, they're probably more comfortable speaking
I
to you
think
about
they
it.
end up being handled in the departments and maybe they don't go to you enough. I guess I'm saying if they come to you then, so I need help finding PHS or I need
Right.
help.
Yeah, that's
I'll
what
be over
determines
there.
We are a service for students and faculty and
Yes.
staff. So, I mean,
Yes.
we have, syllabi that others have used before, we have contacts, we have organizations, we can
Yeah.
train you on how to use EJN for your specific department and LinkedIn, we're here for you as well. So feel free to contact us and we can
That's
meet up
great.
and help each other.
And thank you for the program in general, but for this, what's your plan for the brochure? Surely not just all this work for us little,
Just for you.
little wee little lunchies.
The plan at the moment, and I'm very open to what you all think would work, but we were thinking about printing enough copies of these for all of the faculty members, maybe putting one copy in mailboxes, because I can email out the version to you, but it looks really nice in a hard copy, to make sure each person gets at least one and knows it exists. But if you have ideas about ways to best distribute this, would love to hear them.
Any other questions or comments from you? Thank you very much. Grab a potato as you go.